wear many hats. I'm an artist, a gallerist, a designer, and a master barber. I've been wanting to buy a home for a very long time.
P. Scott met a Chase Community Home Lending Advisor who helped him navigate the home buying process.
He was like a brother.
Community advisors are experts in local housing and down payment assistance programs, such as the $5,000 Chase Homebuyer Grant that helped P. Scott buy his first home. Learn more at jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Hey, it's Karen Hunter from The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM Urban View. Here's a highlight from today's show. Now, you guys know I watch a lot of television. Yellowstone right now is at the top of my list, not because there's a lot of representation, because there's not. I just like Kevin Costner, and the show is really amazing. And several months ago, it might have been longer than that, I was telling you all about Concrete Cowboy, primarily because of Idris Elba. And Jarrell, who was in The Exonerated Five. He played in the Ava DuVernay, When They See Us. It was just Philly with horses, and then we think about Bass Reeves and the original Cowboys and the Buffalo Soldiers, and we think about cowboys are as black as anything in America, but we never think about that, right? Because they're always painting it through a different lens. Well, welcome, and I've been trying to get these folk on because I want us to lean into what it means to be an urban cowboy. Let me welcome the executive director of the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy and a cowboy herself, a cowwoman, I guess is what we call her. The concrete cowgirl is what she calls herself. Let me welcome Erin Brown, and she's joined by Michael Upshur. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show, you two. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Listen, when I watched the Concrete Cowboy, I didn't realize that was based on a real story, and then there's like real people who were actually in the movie, and it was a beautiful, story of coming of age of a boy whose father was heavily into cowboying. Is that how I don't know if it's a verb, but I just made it one, in Philly. Tell us your origin story, Erin, because there were some women in this as well, and I'm imagining you were part of it.
I was. I initially started riding on Fletcher Street in 1990. I was 6 years old. And what from a day trip turned into an everyday, every weekend, every second thing for me. And I competed up the Mid-Atlantic Circuit my entire childhood to early adult years. And here I am today.
All right, 6-year-old Erin, who put you on your first horse, and what was that experience?
My dad he has a metal fabrication company in that Strawberry Mansion section of North Philadelphia, and the Cowboys used to take their trailers to him, their horse trailers, for repairs. And so my dad thought it would be pretty cool to take my brother and myself to the stable one day. And it was history ever since. There was a guy that put me on my first horse who's no longer living. His name is Deke. He put me on my first horse and gave me a ride up the street. And from there on, my parents linked up with a guy named Al Lynch, another gentleman, Wayne Harris, and Sharon Wilkins. They became my plus family. They took me under their wing and, treated me as such and gave me this opportunity of horses and horsemanship.
What was it about the horse? I mean, when I think of my first time on a horse, I was scared, petrified, but there was a freedom, that I also see. But, I'm from Jersey, and we're talking about Philadelphia, which is a neighborhood. It's not the green pastures of Montana or the middle of the country. This is a neighborhood. This is like the hood. How's this happen?
Well, the Black Cowboys would take abandoned buildings and vacant city lots and build barns and put stalls inside these abandoned buildings and, turn them into a barn. And that would stay in our history until redevelopment would come along and take over the building, which happens quite often.
We're talking with Erin Brown. She's the executive director of the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy. And if you guys are riders, call us. I would love to hear from some riders out there, 866-801-8255. And Michael Upshur, tell us your introduction to becoming an urban, a concrete cowboy. I guess that's the modern term.
Yeah, that's fine. It first started for me in South Carolina. My uncle had a farm down there. And he had 2 retired racehorses on the farm. And I remember one day I was around 3 years old. My dad took me and my brother outside and put us on them. The horses was Tracy and Mac. And he put us on them and went back in the house. And the horses really took care of us. And I was 3 years old and I still could remember that. And I mentioned it to my mom and she can't even believe that I could still remember that. But then I came to Philly. It was 1980 when I was introduced to horses on Fletcher Street. My grandfather had a garage right around the corner, a car garage. And me and my brother would, sneak around the corner. We saw the horses and, the guys be there. They would tell us to come on up, this and that. The first guy there was a guy by the name of Albert Lynch, again, that put me on my first horse. And when I was there as a kid, I would be watching him do this stuff with the horse. And I'd be like, wow, maybe one day I could be able to do that, just to be able to see how small we were to be able to tame an animal like that size. It was just a wonder to me. And he, put me on my first horse, was teaching me everything. And then later on in life, I kind of found out that I was kind of like that horse therapist, but I didn't even know because at the time that horse had a leg injury. And by me riding him, but with my light weight and everything, I was, exercising that leg for him to get it back for a regular person to ride him. I found that out later on in life, but it was kind of crazy because the horse was kind of teaching me too, because I learned how to ride on him, not knowing that he was under his therapy, but he was kind of like my therapist too, because he helped me through, a little bit of stuff too.
What is important, particularly for Black people, Erin, to be in community with animals, but horses in particular? What is the value of that?
The power of the horse is what I find myself saying quite often. And as a matter of fact, there is a quote, the outside of a horse does something great for the inside of a man, by Winston Churchill. So the power of the horse, and it speaks for itself. Horses are healing. So as Michael was just saying, it was, therapeutic for the horse to be exercised and ridden around by him. It was also therapy for himself through situations that he may have been going through, myself. And I think a lot of us share the same story in that sense.
How though? I mean, you're galloping, you're on a horse's back. There's something about I feel with all of the restraints, the bits in the mouth. I hate to see something like that because I feel a kinship as a Black person. Tamed. I hate that broken. I hate that term. Breaking a horse. I having that bit in the mouth and being forced to do things. Help me reconcile with that, Erin, and also Michael.
It's not. Well, we don't call it breaking a horse or taming a horse. We call it becoming one with the horse. That's what we call it, becoming one with the horse. It's like a trade-off. You training the horse, this and that, to become this, loving animal, showing him the love too. At the same time, y'all gaining each other trust. Because at one point when you breaking this horse, you are going to have to get on this horse back, and you show him the love and affection that he needs, and just let him know that everything's going to be all right and stuff and everything like that. The trust starts to build every day that you hands on. It take repetition. hands on every day with this horse. And then it's not taming them. It's really becoming one with them, because once that horse accepts you and let you get on mount their back, it's like a feeling of no other. Like you become one with the horse, and that's not a lie, because when you get on a horse, you want to be nice and calm and everything, because all of your energy that you're feeling, the horse can feel it too, because you're on their back. So if you up there, you shaking, and you know what I mean, like they can feel the tenseness. You get up there, you relax, and sometimes they even let you know that it's gonna be all right. So we don't call it taming or stuff like that. We just becoming one with the horse.
Is that different than the way other people perceive the relationship? The way y'all perceive the relationship, is it different? Are we in our community teaching a different relationship than other folk might be when they deal with the same beast, the same animal? Erin?
I grew up, I think we all grew up with the sense that you have to break a horse, like you just said. And, you're the quote unquote master, and they have to do what you say. And to bounce off of what Mike just said, that is also the purpose of concrete horsemanship, because, you should want a horse to be a willing partner with you and not force them to do anything. You should want them to do, to be a willing partner, to want to work with you, to want to work beside you, and to have that understanding where you're not forcing them to do, anything. So, yes, we can go old school back in the day and make them do a whole lot of things, but, we teach and train to have willing partners.
I love it. The concrete cowboy. Right now, people in Philly through the pandemic. I'm curious how you managed, how the horses managed. What was what changed, and how did it? What pivots did you guys have to make during the pandemic and even now?
It didn't really. It only we had to mask up like everybody else, keep our social distance, but them horses still had to eat every day through that pandemic. So we still had to get up in the morning and make sure the horses ate and stuff like that. So we really didn't change too much. We just had to adjust with society, what was going on.
And how is it now? In the movie, Concrete Cowboy, starring, of course, Idris Elba, which I discovered during the pandemic, because I think it was on. It still is. It's on Netflix, right? It's on Netflix.
Yes.
All right. They, the city kept coming in, and then there was like fees, and then, not to give away too much, but there was a lot of conflict to keep it open. Is it still conflict? Developers wanting the land, like all of the back and forth. Is it still that way?
Well, yes, the developers, they came and built some quite gorgeous homes on the vacant lot. And at the end of filming Concrete Cowboy, Pura was in its initial stages. So any horses that we had remaining on Fletcher Street, we did move to a private boarding facility, so we can we've been in partnership with the city to create this forever home, something that cannot be taken from us.
Where is that going to be?
That is going to be in the Cobbs Creek section of Philadelphia. It was once a bocce court that we are converting into a barn. So it is Parks and Recreation's property, and they're allowing us to utilize that space with a long-term lease. And it's still in the middle of a residential neighborhood, just like Fletcher Street, but it also backs up into Cobbs Creek Park, which is gigantic. So it has trails and plenty of space for the horses, and also something that we don't have to, again, worry about losing to redevelopment and or gentrification.
We're talking with Erin Brown, who's the executive director of the Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy, which is Pura. We're talking with Michael Upshaw, who's also a member of Pura. He's a board member, instrumental in all of the future happenings. You can follow her at Concrete Cowgirl, at Concrete Cowboy Official on the IG. I think Concrete Cowgirl is your Twitter handle, and at Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy on IG. And you can go to the Pura Pura.org, thepura.org. Where are the horses? And before I get into that, Michael, your favorite horse to ride ever, and why?
My favorite ever, that would have to be this. I had a little 3-year-old thoroughbred. Her name was I called her Misha, and the reason why really was because for her to be coming off the track, the racetrack, around all that commotion and everything like that, she was just the most calmest horse. Like when I rode her through the streets and everything, I thought she would be like a lot more jumpy and all that, but she just gave me the nice, calmest ride. And people used to be looking at me when I'm riding. The guys that I'm riding with, like, yo, Misha really chilling. Like, but it was like she had an on and off switch. When she was on that track, she was, flighty. She just knew what's going on. Like, it's time to run. But it's like, maybe, I guess when the asphalt or, the concrete touched her feet, she knew it was time to chill. That was the best horse that I liked, the ride that I owned, was Misha.
Erin, your craziest time with a horse. Tell us a story.
Oh boy. I was still on Fletcher Street at the time. I was maybe 18 or so, and I was going to another barn that's close by. It's called Work to Ride, and I was going there to use the arena to get ready for a horse show. So I don't like bridges, and I remember, going across the bridge. My horse at the time was Dollar, and he, we get halfway across the bridge, and, he just, something sets him off, and he's spinning, doing all different types of acrobatics on this bridge with water under it. And so, cars go over this bridge as well. And my mom calls me, and she was also, for some reason, going through the park. And she said, yeah, I'm going through the park. Traffic is backed all the way up to 33rd Street, which is like a mile away. And I said, because I'm on the bridge and, Dollar is having a moment, can't talk. And she said, get off, just get off. And I told her I couldn't because he was moving too fast. And if I would have got off, he would have, spun around and stepped on me, knocked me over, there was no safe space to get off. So I knew I just had to sit there and, wait it out. And
Ride cars
slowly, the cars slowly drove by. My mom caught up, and she said, so you're the reason all this traffic.
Wow. That you were able to answer your phone while you're on the horse too. That's kind of
yeah.
So as we think about scare, Christopher Reeves, on a horse, ended up paralyzed. It's not dangerous. What you're just talking about. There are perils and mishaps that can happen because you're still dealing with the unpredictability of an animal. How do you train people to not have problems? Because y'all don't have a whole lot of those stories. I know there's a couple people that ended up in a wheelchair, what have you, here or there, or even folk that are come into Pura or into a concrete cowboy situation with, disabilities that the horses became therapy for them, as you mentioned, Michael. How do you keep people safe, Erin?
Well, first of all, again, going back to horsemanship, and I know the rider's ability. I can tell, what they have, what they're capable of, and what they're scared to show that they're capable of. And you match them up with a horse with you know, a similar personality, or a horse that, you know, is going to take care of them. And horses have bad days like people, but for the most part, you can get a pretty good grip on how they're feeling that morning, that day. And, you know, I had one student, her name is Fatima. She was a little timid girl, but she was, you know, a natural, and she always wanted to, you know, ride ponies, but she was like a leggy girl. She was 12 years old, 13, but she had some long legs. So I put her on a horse that I knew would be challenging. Hercules was
Hercules.
exactly what his name says.
Yo.
And, she threw a fit, and, her dad, he trusted that to just let me do what I do. And Fatima ended up falling in love with Hercules, and they had a bond like I've never seen together. Well, anyone with that horse, rather. And so I knew she had it in her. It's just the right time, the right situation to pull it out.
Michael Upshar, we're talking also, of course, with Erin Brown. You've been doing this for 30 years, 30 plus years.
Yeah.
What is a show? Walk us through, for those who've never seen Concrete Cowboy, they don't know anything about Black people riding horses on the streets of Philadelphia or in like what can they expect from a show?
Well, I mean, just to see a bunch of guys. Most of the time we come down in the morning. A day we about to ride, everybody meet up at the barn in the morning.
Are you talking about a horse show? Sorry.
Yes, a horse show.
Okay.
Yes.
A horse show.
Yes.
Oh.
What is the show?
A horse show. So there's various riding disciplines. Some you're jumping obstacle courses and fences. There some where you're running around some barrels like a vet out of you know what. And then there are there are different events that are judged by a panel of judges on horse and rider. Sometimes just rider, sometimes just the horse, sometimes just the time. You're going against the time clock. And one of the horses we've been showing this year, it's a halter class, and basically a halter class is judging the horse's conformation and how they're put together, which is how they're put together, and they're standing with all 4 feet square, and it's basically like a beauty pageant with horses, if you will.
So how much does this cost? When I think about horses, I think of equestrians, and I think millions of dollars because it costs a lot to feed a horse. One horse costs a lot to feed, right? And then you got the people that got to clean the stables, and then they got to be brushed, and they got to, there's a lot of work around horses, right? How much is one horse, the upkeep of one horse, and then you have a lot of them, Erin and Michael. How much?
It depends if you're doing full care, which is basically can be viewed as a boarding school, and you're sending a horse sending a horse to a full care facility, which provides everything. Their 2 meals, their room cleaned or stall cleaned, and turned out to pasture. So full board or full care typically is now in Philadelphia somewhere about $550, $675, $800, depends on the facility. Self-care, which we've always done, and for the Urban Black Cowboy, self-care is usually like maybe $175 tops, but you're also responsible. Yes.
Okay.
You're also responsible for the daily care, the feeding twice a day, the stall cleaning, and you're also responsible for buying the hay, the grain, the bedding. So self-care, you end up saving a little more, but you also build a better relationship with your horse, in my opinion, because it is you that is doing the work every day and, handling this horse every day and not someone else.
Right. If I wanted to purchase a horse, what tips do you have? And where would I go? Where would I even go to purchase a horse?
You can buy them privately through a private seller. You can go to a breeder who is known for breeding a certain type of horse that you.
And that's where it gets expensive, right?
Yes, and you can go to an auction. Wherever you get one from, I suggest taking an experienced horse person with you that can run a self-diagnostics on a horse and to make sure there aren't any old injuries, current injuries. And if you're spending over $5,000, I would suggest getting a PPE, which is a pre-purchase exam by a veterinarian. So
how many, let me not get into y'all's personal business, but the first horse you ever owned, Michael, because you've owned a lot. Where'd you get that horse?
The first horse I ever owned, I got him from a sale in Tabernacle, New Jersey. It was a 2-year-old thoroughbred. He had injured his shoulder on the track. He had ran into the rail and had like a little cut on his shoulder. So that's why they had him at the auction. I paid what I paid for him. $315 I paid for him.
Wow.
And I named him Faith because it just seemed like you gotta have faith, you know what I mean? So I just named him Faith.
And how do you make money having these horses? Erin, what's the business?
So money with horses, there are, the big money that keeps everything operational comes from riding lessons and summer camps, different Discovery Day programs, day camps, birthday parties. Those are all the revenue breakers with horses. And of course, training brings in money as well.
So for the people listening, what do you want them to walk away with? We're talking, of course, with Pura, which is definitely Philadelphia's premier riding. Do I call you a riding club or is it? Academy. Philadelphia Urban Riding Academy. And she's, of course, the Concrete Cowgirl. We got the Concrete Cowboy with her, Michael Upshar, and I'm talking with Erin Brown. What do you want people to walk away with, knowing about your organization and what you're doing?
Knowing that how things are going in Philadelphia with our youth now, just to know that there is an organization out there like us that's trying to enlighten kids to new and different things, so they can see and know that like not all is lost. Like that's all, that's what we want them to know, and just give them a new experience, just to see that being in the horse business, like there's lucrative careers that can come of this. So just to let them see something different, and also to let them know that somebody do care, because some of the kids think that nobody don't care no more. Like that's why there are not these programs and stuff out here for them to do, to occupy their time. But just to let them know that at least Michael and Erin at Pura, like we do care. So just come on over and just give it a try. You never know, you might fall in love like we did.
And if you're not in Philly and you want to support what these folk are doing, because it's beautiful, there's a big donate button right there. This is the giving season. If you haven't done your Tuesday giving, this is a good place to go. Thepura.org is where you find them. .org, not .com, .org, because they're a nonprofit. So I want to say thank you for the work, and thank you for inspiring Concrete Cowboy. It was an amazing film, and you guys are amazing as well. Thank you for being here. Hey, this is Karen Hunter. You can listen to The Karen Hunter Show live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. East on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126 or anytime on the SiriusXM app.
I wear many hats. I'm an artist, a gallerist, a designer, and a master barber. I've been wanting to buy a home for a very long time.
P. Scott met a Chase Community Home Lending Advisor who helped him navigate the home buying process.
He was like a brother.
Community advisors are experts in local housing and down payment assistance programs, such as the $5,000 Chase Homebuyer Grant that helped P. Scott buy his first home. Learn more at jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.